You are listening to the Choose Your Struggle podcast, a member of the Shameless Podcast Network. Nobody knows your mission better than you, but sometimes you need someone to help you move the ball downfield. Whether by telling your story a little bit better, creating a fundraising strategy, engaging stakeholders, or improving culture. That's where I come in. I'll bring a combined decade's worth of experience in nonprofits, consulting, and politics to help your organization reach the next level. I practice an internal growth model, which means I work with your team to make strategic improvements using your existing strengths. So if you're ready to take that next step, reach out. You can find me at my website, jschiffman.com, and I can't wait to hear from you.
Choose your struggle. Spread love. Choose your struggle.
Hello and welcome to a Monday Motivation episode of the Choose Your Struggle podcast. As the name suggests, today we're talking storytelling. So by now, it's all public. There are two awesome events coming up. Choose Your Struggle presents A Day in the Life is debuting on April 21st with Sean Braley, which is awesome. There's also two more of those scheduled, so stay tuned because that's going to happen pretty regularly, every couple of weeks or so. There is also the next Rock Bottom Storytellers 2 is coming up in a week after that on April 28th. And it's going to be awesome. I mean, the lineup for the first one was incredible. And I was like, I kind of screwed myself, you know? How do I top that incredible lineup? And I found just as incredible of a lineup for number two. The four people are incredible. Janny Rad, ML Lanzalata, Laurent Barton, and Kristen Zabo are going to be incredible. It's really going to be fantastic. A musical guest of my sister-in-law, Kayla Fremmer, and her bandmate, Sam Scover, is going to be fantastic. So, definitely tune in on the 21st for Sean Braley, the 28th for Rock Bottom Storytellers. It's going to be wonderful. And, that's not all. I've got a couple other irons in the fire around storytelling. I hope to be able to tell you all about more of in the coming weeks. At the moment, I cannot. But the point here is that, that's actually a thing I'm really focusing more on is the storytelling aspect because it's something that I just think is so needed and something that I think is incredibly important and can have a real impact. And that is, once again, returning to a place where we can gather around stories. I was talking about this with someone yesterday, why stories are so important to me. And it's because no matter your tribe, no matter your in-group, your history, all of them incorporate storytelling in a major way, whether it's your religion, your shared ethnicity, whatever the case is, storytelling is a major part of that. And that's not a surprise, or it shouldn't be, because that's how our brains work. I've talked about that before. I talk about that in pretty much every interview I do, which is that, our brains love stories. So why we've gotten away from this is something that I don't quite understand. It's how we relate to each other as well. And it's also how, rightly and wrongly, we make assumptions about people. Our brains sort of connect their experience to our experience. And so there's a lot of downsides with that, right? I mean, when people hear something that they've never experienced, and then they're like, oh no, that couldn't have happened. I don't believe you because it's never happened to me. That's a problem. And yet the easiest way to help people break down stigma and break down barriers to learning is by telling stories. So I'm very excited about the direction that I'm kind of heading in with all of this. And part of that also is going to be hopefully in-person storytelling events in Philadelphia and then in other areas when we can get back to doing that. So my question for all of you today is, who is doing this well? Tell me a couple of storytelling devices or outlets that you like. And my question for that is because someone turned me on to a new one yesterday that I'm now talking to hopefully do something with. And again, that's one of the ones in the fire, all that kind of stuff. I didn't know about them, and they're doing amazing work. So really would love to hear from you, places you think are telling stories well. Storytellers that you think I should reach out to. If you have a story, my list for this podcast is very long, but my list for Rock Bottom for A Day in the Life is much shorter, and I want to hear from you, the people that you want to hear tell stories. That's very important. So reach out with that. If it's you, please, let's make a time. I'd love to hear from you. If you are interested, but you're like, I've never done this before, that's okay. Every Rock Bottom is going to have an opportunity for at least one person who's not told a story. A Day in the Life is very made for that. Of the three people who are, set, they're not new to this, but only Sean is like a storyteller. The other two so far are just excited about this opportunity. So definitely reach out. I would love to hear from you, and let's figure out a way to tell your story, because we all have stories, whether we think we do or not. We all have stories. So that's it for this week. Would love to hear from you soon. As always, choose your struggle, and honestly, have a wonderful week. I would love to hear from you soon.